The door was deadbolted from the inside. The cabin was surrounded by 3 feet of untouched snow. No footprints, no drag marks, no disturbances for miles. Yet when police forced the door open, the occupant was gone. No broken windows, no secret exits, no sign of struggle, just a warm fireplace, a half-finished cup of coffee, and a man who seemed to have vanished through solid walls. So the question investigators asked that night was simple. How does a human being disappear from a locked cabin in the middle of nowhere? The man inside that cabin was Daniel Carter, 36 years old, former search and rescue volunteer, an experienced outdoorsman. Daniel rented the remote cabin for a weekend retreat. No cell service, no nearby neighbors. The nearest town was nearly 20 miles away. According to the rental owner, Daniel arrived Friday evening. He unloaded supplies, started a fire, and waved goodbye as the owner drove away. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. 2 days later, the owner returned to check on the property. The cabin lights were still on. Smoke still drifted from the chimney, but Daniel never answered the door. The cabin owner knocked. There was no response, but something felt wrong. The snow around the cabin was untouched. Not a single footprint, not even Daniel's, as if no one had stepped outside since the last snowfall. The owner circled the building. Every window was locked, every curtain closed. Finally, he called the police. When deputies arrived, they forced the door open. Inside, the fire was still burning. A mug of coffee sat on the table, still warm, but Daniel Carter was nowhere to be found. Investigators quickly realized something strange. The deadbolt was engaged from the inside, which meant one thing. If Daniel left the cabin, he had to unlock the door and step outside into the snow. But there were no footprints, none. The windows were checked next, all locked. No broken glass, no signs of tampering. Even the chimney was inspected, far too narrow for a person to climb through. Yet Daniel was gone, vanished from a sealed room. Inside the cabin, investigators found Daniel's belongings exactly where he left them. His phone, his wallet, his car keys. Everything remained. Even his winter boots were sitting beside the door, which created an even bigger mystery, because outside temperatures that night dropped below -15 degrees. If Daniel walked outside without boots, he would not have survived long. Yet there were no tracks in the snow, not even bare footprints. It was as if he simply ceased to exist inside that cabin. Then investigators interviewed the only other person nearby, a forest ranger stationed miles away. The ranger reported hearing something unusual that night. Around midnight, a loud metallic crash echoed through the forest, followed by silence. At first, he assumed it was falling tree branches, but now he wasn't so sure. Search teams began combing the woods the next morning, looking for signs of an accident or an animal attack. But again, the snow revealed nothing. No tracks, no disturbances, just miles of untouched white. 3 days later, investigators discovered something small, almost invisible. A narrow scratch mark beneath the cabin floorboards. First glance, it seemed insignificant, but when they removed several wooden panels, they found a hidden space, an old maintenance tunnel, barely large enough for a person to crawl through. The tunnel ran beneath the cabin and disappeared into the forest hillside. The tunnel floor told the same story as the snow outside. No footprints, no dirt, no disturbance. It looked as if no one had used it in years. To this day, investigators can't explain what happened to Daniel Carter. 3 theories remain. The first, he discovered the tunnel and used it to leave the cabin. But that still doesn't explain the missing tracks. The second, someone else was inside the cabin. Someone who knew about the tunnel,